That's not very fair.
Hello, my good friends. Today we'll be watching and talking through the speech that Frank Sinatra gave in 1945 in the film The House I Live In. The speech gives us many good reasons why we should be more thoughtful with what we say and how to craftily and orderly structure our thoughts in order to achieve maximum impact in the delivery of our message. Let's watch the video and we'll talk afterwards.
I just want to know why the gang war.
We don't like him. We don't want him in our neighborhood or going to our school.
I've been living here as long as you.
What's he got, smallpox or something?
We don't like his religion.
His religion?
Look, mister, he's a
Now, hold on. I see what you mean. You must be a bunch of those Nazi werewolves I've been reading about.
Mister, are you screwy?
Not me, I'm an American.
Well, what do you think we are?
Nazis?
Don't call me a Nazi. My father's a sergeant in the army. He been wounded even.
Wounded, huh? Say, I bet he got some of that blood plasma.
He was wounded so bad he had to get it 3 times.
Son, anybody in your family ever go to the blood bank?
Sure, my mother and my father both.
Uh-huh. You know what? I bet you maybe his pop's blood helped save your dad's life. That's bad.
What's bad about it?
Well, don't you see? Your father doesn't go to the same church as his father does. That's awful. Do you think maybe if your father knew about it in time, he would rather have died than to take blood from a man of another religion? Would you have wanted him to die? Would your mom want him to die?
No.
Look, fellas, religion makes no difference, except maybe to a Nazi or somebody as stupid. Why, people all over the world worship God in many different ways. God created everybody. He didn't create one people better than another. Your blood's the same as mine. Mine's the same as his. Do you know what this wonderful country is made of? It's made up of 100 different kind of people, and 100 different ways of talking, and 100 different ways of going to church. But they're all American ways. Wouldn't we be silly if we went around hating people because they comb their hair different than ours? Wouldn't we be a lot of dopes? My dad came from Italy, but I'm an American. But should I hate your father because he came from Ireland or France or Russia? Wouldn't I be a first-class fathead? You guys remember Pearl Harbor? Why, the Japs socked us so it looked like we could never do anything about it. But a couple of days later, something very important happened. Close your eyes and let me tell you about it.
Before we play the remainder of this clip, I want to break what has been said down in multiple ways, because I think there is much that we can learn from the way that Frank Sinatra masterfully dismantles the arguments presented by the boys and very diplomatically and delicately addresses the topic of racial and religious tolerance. Frank Sinatra does a very masterful job of leveraging certain modes of persuasion. One of the first things that we notice very early on is that Frank Sinatra identifies the values that these boys ascribe to. After they're convinced not to further instigate the altercation that they have with a Jewish boy, he asks, what's the conflict about? And they very quickly express that they're American.
Not me, I'm an American.
Well, what do you think we are?
The other one is very quick to defend the patriotism of his father.
My father's a sergeant in the army. He been wounded even.
They also value teamwork. They're working together against what they identify as a common enemy. And Sinatra also identifies what they dislike. What do they dislike? Well, they dislike Jews, or in this case, Judaism. What we have here are these different puzzle pieces. And what Sinatra does in the next few minutes is he has to take the values that the boys has. He has to also take what they are opposed to. And he has to find a way to conjoin these puzzle pieces in a way to present a resolution that is able to disarm the situation. He does this by trying to group everything under the values that these boys are in alignment with.
Close your eyes and let me tell you about it. Go on, close your eyes. All of you, I want you to imagine it. There was a Jap battleship, the Haruna, and one of our planes spotted it. Do you know what it takes from a battleship? It takes guts and know-how and teamwork. And our boys sure needed plenty of it, because that Jap was throwing up enough flak to get out and walk home on. But the pilot had only one thing on his mind: to get over that ship. And he did. And then the bombardier pushed a button and a 500-pound tomato smacked that Jap right in the middle. Yep, they sank it. And every American threw his head back and felt much better. The pilot of that ship was named Colin Kelly, an American and a Presbyterian. And you know who dropped the bombs? Meyer Levin, an American and a Jew. You think maybe they should have called the bombing off because they had different religions? Think about that, fellas.
This also is a testimony to the mental model of speed versus velocity when communicating ideas. Often when we're involved in situations where we let our passions or our emotions get the best of us, we communicate in a very chaotic way. It's a scattershot of different ideas. We're throwing spaghetti at the wall and we're hoping that our opponent, our conversation partner, our debate nemesis will latch on to something that we say. And so most of what we say is just bloated material. That's speed of thought. We often lose a lot of logic in our argumentation, and we leave a lot of loose ends that aren't provided any closure. What Sinatra does is he doesn't focus on speed, he focuses on velocity. And velocity can be quick, but it's not going around in different directions. It's not spiraling around without a destination in mind. Velocity is a straight line in a certain direction. And the most persuasive arguments, the most powerful orations have very clear velocity. It's often very subtle. We are often able to gauge this subconsciously, but we find that there is a very clear stepping through of argumentation in the dialogue that Sinatra is involved in. When the boys say something, they express something that is of interest to them. He leverages that and assimilates that into his argument. And beyond that, a quick comment on Frank Sinatra's voice. He has such remarkable, firm breath control and clear diction. Now, he was a singer during this time, very popular. I believe he was 25 or 26 during this video. It's expected that those qualities would carry over into how he communicates in conversation. It's a reminder to us to speak clearly. And one comment on the nonverbals is he very confidently includes everyone in the conversation. You'll see him looking around. All attention is on him, but that doesn't faze him. He wants to make sure that all the boys are in alignment of ideals. And you do that by making a connection with your audience, and he does that very masterfully with his eye contact, with his body language, and by leveraging the different talking points that they've given him throughout this video. We'll end our analysis there. We'll play the final clip in the next few seconds, and thanks for giving me your attention today.
Use your good American heads. Don't let anybody make suckers out of you. Well, gotta go to work.
What do you work?
I sing.
End our analysis there. We'll play the final